our consent. Yet we have no right to keep them home from school. It's completely hypocritical.
Can't believe that he's calling these folks peaceful protesters.
Well, I think Joe Biden is totally on the wrong page on this, and he's completely out of step with where American women are when they talk about how to protect their families.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Wednesday just got better because the ladies are live, discussing the hottest topics of the week with you tonight.
And we will make America great again.
Hey everybody, I'm Lara Trump and welcome to The Right View. With me as always is Kimberly Guilfoyle, Mercedes Schlapp, and here in person, Katrina Pierson. We are
so jealous. I am jealous.
I know. Well, hopefully we can all be together soon.
I was going to say. Yeah.
But until then, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my home state of North Carolina. They got hit earlier this week by a hurricane, and if anybody watching lives in North Carolina, you'll know that unless it's a Category 3 or above hurricane, nobody really pays attention to it. My mom, I called Tuesday morning to check in on things, and she was like, it was really bad here. So want to be sure to send our thoughts and prayers to everybody in North Carolina, South Carolina, affected all the way up the East Coast by the storm. I totally understand what the cleanup from that is like. My brother and I spent many a day off of school when the rest of our friends who lived inland were just having days off of school after hurricanes. We were cleaning up our yard and then all the neighbors' yards. So thinking of all of you guys. But Katrina, since you're here with me today, what's happening with you?
Well, I'm so excited this week, mainly because I'm back in Washington, D.C. So I finally got to see my child, my only child,
Aww.
23.
He's like 23. What are you talking about?
My baby.
My baby.
So, he knows I'm back too, because there's this, constantly like, why are you always yelling at? You're just looking for things to be wrong. So I reunited with my son and just very excited to get to see the president tomorrow. And, I'm just happy to be back with my friends.
Yay. Love it. Love it. What about you, Mercy?
Well, I had a funny little story. So my 8-year-old Lucia, who she's like number 5. If you're like the number 5 child, you should be a comedian. Like that's your calling in life. So she's made a decision. She wakes up this morning. She goes, Mom, I'm going to paint all these vote for Trump signs and put them up all over the neighborhood. I'm going to get a hammer and a nail and just start posting them everywhere.
Go ahead.
Let me make this very clear, people. There's more Biden signs in my neighborhood than there would ever be Trump signs. And I was like, you know what? This little 8-year-old, she's so courageous. So God bless her when she starts painting up these signs and putting them across our neighborhood. We might get targeted, but who cares? We're targeted anyways.
I didn't even know that Joe had signs. Look at him. Good for the Biden campaign. What about you, Kimberly? What's happening?
Oh, my God. What isn't, right? So just raising money night and day like a complete lunatic. But I'm really excited because we're going to be having some fundraising events here in person with the president. The president is coming to New York and Hamptons this week. So it's going to be fantastic. And I cannot believe the amount of enthusiasm, or actually I can, and people excited to be able to support him and participate. I'm also be leading a boat parade with Don Jr. What might go wrong? Yes.
That sounds fun.
So that's going to be fun. And that's out of Montauk on Friday. So we're just showing them loud and proud the support for the president, even in a blue state. And it's going to be fantastic. And there's a bundling event. You know how much I love to do that around the boating. I'm combining boating and bundling with prizes. You can get a picture with the president, whoever raises the most money or bundles the most or has the best boat setup. So I'm pretty excited about it. Be out on the get out on the water with Captain Don Jr. and it'll be fun. A lot of liberty and freedom loving patriots. So it should be good. Jam packed 4 days.
Make sure he's wearing his life preserver because we want to be sure he's safe.
Yes.
So get him
and
all
his
strapped
fishing
in there.
gear.
Oh yeah. Well, we know he's never far from that. Look, we're less than 90 days to go until Election Day. It's sort of shocking. We're officially here, but early voting actually kicks off September 4th in my home state of North Carolina when absentee voting begins. So, I mean, really, guys, we are so close to this election. You can actually taste it. Kimberly, how critical of a role will early voting play in determining the outcome of the election during the really unprecedented time we find ourselves in with this coronavirus?
Well, it's such a great question. This is extremely critical. We were on a conference call this morning about it with Women for Trump, and with some of the Trump lawyers explaining, going through it, how we can talk about it in layman's terms to our friends and family to understand the importance, of early voting. And when you have that ballot, they said, whatever you do, turn it in right away. So there is no delay in submitting it. The second you get it in your hot hands, you've got to do it. If that's the way you want to vote, obviously, if you go vote, in person on that day, best way to make sure that your vote is, counted and gets through versus some of these states that want to do mail-in voting. We saw those special elections in New York. They still didn't have all the votes and the ballots in, weeks and weeks later. So it's out of control. But I'm super excited. We're gonna start off with a bang in your home state. Laura, so I'm excited. So those ballots, little Trump ballots that we want to put in the hands of all the guys and the girls in North Carolina 30 days from now. But because of the pandemic, we are expecting more voters to utilize this early voting option. And it is so important for our viewers to understand that, because November 3rd may be less than 90 days away, but we better be working harder now than we are on November 2nd, because we got to get all of those votes in now, locked and loaded. And they're starting to decide. There actually may be some people who are watching and listening to us and to this show and to Team Trump Online, deciding who they will choose to be their next president. And that's why our campaign is getting out in front of the curve in many battleground states and early voting states to make sure that we're engaging with the voters and turning out every single supporter of the president. In some of these states, Laura, Katrina, Mercy, as you know, last time, they could be incredibly close. So it's all about motivating those people. And, the more votes we can get in as quickly as possible, the better off that we will be.
Yeah, and just to make sure everybody at home understands, I keep trying to drive this point home. Absentee voting is 100% the way to go. If you are not comfortable physically going to a polling location on November 3rd, then fill out an absentee ballot. You can request it. It is tracked. You have to have a signature and a proof of identification in order to receive it, versus what the Democrats are proposing, this universal mail-in nonsense.
Very different.
You got no way to track it. So absentee is the way to go. If you're in North Carolina, request an absentee ballot. You can go to vote.donaldjtrump.com. You can find out where you vote, how to register to vote, how to get an absentee ballot. I'd like to suggest everybody do that. So as of now, the first presidential debate is not scheduled until September 29th, a full month, guys, after early voting begins. So Mercy, how important is it to the American electorate that we add a fourth debate before early voting takes place so that voters can see and hear both candidates? Because we know Joe Biden's going to stay right down in that basement as long as he can.
Yeah, and remember that his advisors are saying, don't even go to the debate. Just skip the debate. Just think about that. Like, why are you going to go up against Donald J. Trump? Well, they know why. They're nervous that that man's going to be one gaffe after the next, that he's not going to be able to compete against Donald J. Trump. But here's the reality. The reality is that early voting is starting up by the time you're talking about 16 states where they'll have early voting even before the first debate. And you're talking about millions of people are going to be able to cast a vote before the first debate. I think by the time it's like the third debate, or the final debate, you're talking about that 45 million Americans could have voted already. So just think about that. You're talking about millions of people who would never even hear from Joe Biden, because God only knows he avoids every single softball interview. He never has a press conference. He lives in his basement. He's hiding and dodging. And we don't know what he stands for publicly, in the sense that what we do know is that not only is he hiding, but that he has attached himself to the radical left. Yet the American people will not see him on the debate stage sharing his vision for America. So I think it's very problematic. It's why we've seen our campaign manager and our leadership team saying, let's go, we need this fourth debate, and we got to do it earlier. But you know what Biden's going to do? He's just going to hide.
Hide, duck and cover.
Sure he will. And by the way, of any year to warrant a fourth debate in the midst of coronavirus, where you haven't been able to get people out on the road campaigning in the normal sense, people deserve in this country to see both candidates on stage before the first votes are cast. It is so crucial. It's so critical. I think we have to do it. Meanwhile, members of the mainstream media and Democratic Party are pushing Joe Biden to back out of those debates. So let's watch this absurd clip of former Clinton press secretary Joe Lockhart.
Former Clinton White House Press Secretary Joe Lockhart wrote an op-ed for CNN.com titled, "Joe Biden Could Still Lose This Election." And as I read it, I was struck by this provocative paragraph. Quote, "Whatever you do, don't debate Trump. Trump has now made more than 20,000 misleading or false statements, according to the Washington Post. It's a fool's errand to enter the ring with someone who can't follow the rules or the truth. Biden will undoubtedly take heat from Republicans and the media for skipping the debates, but it's worth the risk, as trying to debate someone incapable of telling the truth is an impossible contest to win."
Okay, well, there you have it. Katrina, got to get your reaction to that.
Well, I think what we see is the media is going to do what the media does, and that is to protect and defend Joe Biden. Because look, they know the moment he steps on the stage with President Trump, it is over. Because most Americans look at Joe Biden and they think, this is just the guy that Obama chose. No big deal. Joe Biden has been out there for nearly a century, and his record has never been vetted. And so on day one, in that first debate, they know that Joe Biden will be vetted for the very first time, and he does not have a leg to stand on. He cannot defend any of his actions, any of his statements, or any of his policies. So the media is going to get behind this notion that somehow they can skip the debates, but I don't think that America is going to let that happen.
Well, I certainly hope not. I mean, let's see if he can figure out how to get on the stage, if he knows where he is when that happens.
No kidding.
Well,
can you imagine, though? It says he could lose the election if he actually gets up there to answer questions and the American people hear him. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is crazy stuff, but we're not surprised anymore hearing it from the mainstream media. And we touched on this a minute ago, Mercy, but really the media has been totally lying about the really important issue that we just discussed, the difference between absentee voting and universal mail-in voting. So can you really clarify for our audience the difference between them? Because there's a lot of confusion out there. And also, I want to let you talk about what just happened in Nevada. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we're all taking a crash course on absentee ballots versus mail-in ballots. I always feel like I'm talking to the political team and going, all right, let's go through this one more time. Let me make sure I have this. So, for example, the president sent out a tweet encouraging people in Florida to vote mail-in, which, as we know, in Florida, it actually is the absentee ballot process, which means that if you are absent from your home state or you can't vote in person, you request a ballot. They send over the ballot, you're able to fill it out and send it back in. In what we just call the universal mail-in voting, it literally is that they look at the election file and they say, all right, let's just go and send all these ballots out to these and match these addresses to the election files. Well, you know, people move all the time. You know, you end up with the dead cat voting and you have
Cody
problems
with the dead cat's name, dead for 12 years.
That's right.
Got a mail-in ballot.
Dead for 12.
So it's not verified. And I think it's important to understand the difference. I think one important thing to note on Nevada is that these liberal Democrats have fundamentally changed the voting system in Nevada 90 days before the general election. And what they're allowing for, this is great, that let's say President Trump wins in Nevada. You can, Joe Schmo, basically you say, get your ballot, get your friends, and cast your ballot 3 days, as long as it's 3 days after the election or 7 days after the election. 3 days if it's not postmarked, 7 days if it is postmarked. Just think about that. Meaning that if you're short by 5,000 votes, you can find your friends and say, wait a second, did you cast your ballot? Let's cast it right now, day after the election. And that's what's so disgraceful. They're allowing for ballot harvesting, which we know is bad for our seniors because they can go to someone over the age of 65 and be like, let me help you fill out your ballot. I will take your ballot. And this is just prone to voter fraud.
Crazy.
And I think that it is a huge problem that these Democrats are pushing for universal mail-in voting because we are not set up to handle such at a national scale mail-in voting, especially without verification or with weakened verification.
Well, and to your point, Mercy, 3 months before an election, all of a sudden, they want to throw this in there. And by the way, the Nevada situation you just mentioned, guess what they did? They did this literally in the middle of the night on a Saturday morning at like 2 a.m. They rammed this through. So I guess nobody was gambling out in Las Vegas. I guess they were all dealing with trying to rip off the American people and, fraudulently change an election. And why would you do such a thing, Democrats? Is it because you know that your candidate has no shot at beating President Donald Trump? Yes. I think the answer is yes. And it's really horrifying to see what these people are doing. They will go to any length possible to try and prop up Joe Biden like a Weekend at Bernie's skit. I mean, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. It's really frightening to think of this happening in the United States of America. But here we are, and it's all the more reason we need to win on November 3rd by such a large victory that it doesn't matter how many Cody Tims they've got out there. It doesn't matter how many of these fake votes they send in after the election. Donald Trump will still be the victor. So everybody get out and vote. All right, we are going to take a quick commercial break. Stay right with us. We'll be back with you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to The Right View. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, National Chair of Trump Victory Finance Committee. And joining us now is Kaya Jones, Grammy Award-winning recording artist and now an advisory board member to the Trump campaign. So welcome to the program, Kaya.
Thank you for having me.
All right, fantastic. So can you please share your story with our viewers?
Ooh, that's a big one. I don't know if we have time for all of that, but in a nutshell, I've been singing most of my life. I started with the Pussycat Dolls. I left due to my personal convictions and abuse that the girls endured in that group. I went on to continue to make music, became a DJ, created a record company, was the youngest female in history to do so at the time when I was 26. Went on to do a fashion brand. And then in 2016, I was DJing opening for Calvin Harris. A month later, I came out as a Trump supporter, and that was the end of me performing and doing anything. Wow. My brand was kicked out of the store that it was in. And that was the beginning of me really understanding, like, what do I do now? And so to harness that and really kind of focus on speaking out more for our president, speaking out more for our country, and really following my passion and my faith. And that subsequently led me to singing Christian music, and I was able to win a Grammy last year from it. So,
yes, fantastic.
And I'm also serving on an advisory board for the president. So how incredible is that?
Yes, well, God blesses us in many ways, especially
yes.
We show our courage and our faith. We're really proud of you, and that was an incredible moment when you were able to get that, get the award. So perfect.
Yeah, Kimberly, I agree. I mean, this is, now we have you. So, it's one of those things that, it's that little silver lining there. And, we think you're doing a great job out there being a voice and, again, being a leader. And, you hear stories like yours and you wonder why all of a sudden, being a Trump supporter just really does all this, quote, damage to someone's psyche. And it's really their problem, not ours. So, but having said that, we do see Democrats on the other side, right, who have major issues and children you don't want to look up to. And it's just one of those things that this double standard that continues. It's a horrible Trump, but hey, all this other horrible stuff, let's go ahead and support that. And it's very intolerant, even though the left claims to be tolerant. We know that just simply is not true. But why is the left, why are the Democrats, why is the media so intolerant to individuals that don't fit their required ideology?
I feel that I would blame the media because, majority of Americans, when you walk outside your door, if you go grocery shopping, you don't hate anyone. You don't hate your neighbor. The media is perpetually creating this narrative that's very divisive and very, in a nutshell, chaotic. It's created a narrative that is now putting people against people to a point where family members don't want to talk, people don't want to work with one another. It's divisive, it's bad, and it's downright scary because it's creating a narrative that win or lose, they're still making money. If we go into a civil war, they're there to shoot it, they're making money. So this is the thing, is that we have to be careful on who do we blame, because I have friends on the left that have called me up and they said they're voting for Trump. So I can tell you it's not all just left or right. I think people are now starting to see that this is a media issue and media really needs to be held accountable.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, Kaya, I want to say I have 5 daughters who all love to sing, and they try to outcompete each other, and we kind of call them the Von Schlapps, which I'm sure if they would meet you, they would love you. So
let's get them on the show, Mercy. We'll come on the right view. I'd love it.
What would happen? They would hijack the whole entire show. They couldn't get a word in with the Schlapps.
Bring them on.
If you throw my husband in, it's even worse. But I really you mentioned something that's so important, which is those people who come to you, and we call them the Trump whisperers, are kind of quiet and they don't want to speak up. And really, we're so proud that you did speak up, because you are a voice for so many young girls out there who are afraid that they're going to be bullied because they believe in the work and the record that Donald Trump has been able to achieve. But first of all, I'd like to get your reaction. Let's play this new ad that was just released by our campaign featuring a silent majority voter.
Okay.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So, Kaya, let me get your reaction to this ad. In liberal Hollywood, are there these silent majority Trump supporters?
There are. I'll go as far as to say there are people that have been outspoken against the president that voted for him. And I know that they did, but they don't want to lose their job. And I think they understand that now we're moving into a time. At that time, it made sense why they chose to be playing the game that I can't do. I'm not very good at lying. But I think now what we're seeing, I have literally really important high profile friends that people know calling me and saying, I was really wrong about him. I was really wrong about you. I feel like I'm waking up. Like, have I been blind to what's going on? And I think that's the thing, is the media has been perpetuating divisiveness. They're looking at the two candidates. They're looking into what's going on. And I think across the board, people can get behind someone who's combating human trafficking. He's doing so much for the country. And I think that's like a bipartisan issue. When you talk about that, that's something that everyone can really get behind. And a lot of people feel that Hollywood has really kind of gotten away with a lot of things that they shouldn't have gotten away with, and this president's now speaking up for them in a really big way. And I think you're going to see a red tsunami. I said that to Lara Trump, a year and a half ago, but I mean it. I think you're going to see a red tsunami, and I think it's going to be really great. And it's time. I don't know if they're going to stay as silent as they did in 2016. You're starting to see more energetically, people are getting stronger. I would say everyday people now you see flags everywhere. You see flags, you see Trump flags, you see American flags. People are starting to get really, and especially with the masks, you have to wear a lot of masks now. Everyone's wearing a mask now. And I've seen so many, Star Spangled Banner masks. And that to me is their way of speaking through this mask. Like, you want to silence me, but I'm with my country. And this is the most pro-America president we've had in a really long time. He's really doing a fantastic job. And I think we need to get behind him. We need to support him. We're in a war, and it's serious. And I think we need to get out there and do as much as we can.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Kaya. And, it is really astonishing that we have found ourselves in a very short period of time in a space in America where you are courageous. You are the Lone Ranger. If you stand with your hand over your heart for our national anthem and you play on a professional sports team instead of kneeling with all the other people. And I think you're right. I think people are waking up and they're saying, this is not the America that I love. Why aren't we championing our flag? Why aren't we thanking the folks in our military who lay their lives on the line every single day, and some give their lives for our freedom? So I think you're right. You did say it to me, a red tsunami. I think the silent majority is very real. I think it's bigger in 2020 than it was in 2016. By the way, for all the reasons that you just laid out, people get it, and they don't like when they see what we have seen in, again, a very short period of time take place in this country. But again, we all want to thank you, because what you're doing by speaking out, by making your voice heard, you are such a presence on social media. And it's really, really, it's empowering to a lot of people, I think, to see that. But you're taking direct action to help reelect President Trump this November. Talk about some of the ways and some of your efforts and how other people can get involved.
Well, I talk about you guys and him 24/7 to as many people as I can. I urge everyone to, if you're not following the president, if you're not following Lara, Katrina, Kimberly, Mercedes, you need to get involved. You need to see the day-to-day action, especially what Ivanka did, this morning. It's important to know what's going on. It's important to stay activated. You can also text 88022 to get immediately connected in, and then you'll be looped into what's going on. If you want to know what's going on, you can also go to donaldjtrump.com and get plugged in. There's multiple coalitions for every kind of American, as there should be. And I think right now I want to just kind of pivot and say to religious leaders, because this is important. We're seeing what's happening right now with not being able to worship in our places of worship and really having to plug in our homes, which is very disheartening for many. So if you are, a pastor, a rabbi, and you're not reaching out to your congregation and getting them tied in to registering them to vote, that would be the biggest disservice. I feel like you've got to get people registered to vote. We have to make this happen. This is our liberties on the line. This is America on the line. And they're not just coming after Donald Trump. They're coming after our flag, our anthem, our Constitution, and everything that we have been built by. And so, if you didn't lose your land as a Native American, your family fought to protect the land, or your family built the land. And so it's really important that everyone understand how serious this is. This is outside indoctrination, and we need to combat it, and we need to get him reelected, because it's literally him between us and them. And so we got to make it happen.
And also, I appreciate you bringing that up about Ivanka and our great Attorney General, Bill Barr, $35 million to get people displaced from human trafficking. And this is really one of the most horrific crimes also that I saw as a prosecutor, in the child and sex trafficking that's going on, and really now shining a bright light on it, getting those people the resources for housing and assistance that they need to escape a life of enslavement like that. It could not be more important. It's another reason to really just applaud the president, the administration, and Ivanka for what she did. Kai, what a pleasure to have you on the program, and enjoy DC, and keep being vocal, loud and proud.
I will.
We really appreciate your leadership.
I'm honored. I'm honored. I love you all.
All right.
God
bless you, my friend. Thank you. All right, everyone, we're going to be right back after this short break with more of The Right View. Stay with us.
As we have already seen, his America First agenda has lifted all Americans up.
and have empowered them with true economic emancipation that has once again made the American dream possible. That's why I want you to text EMPOWER to 88022 right now if you want to keep America great and deliver 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 million people dead here in the United States?
Yes.
No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't. We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
And welcome back to The Right View. I'm Katrina Pierson, Senior Advisor to President Trump's re-election campaign. And now let's take a look at the other new ad recently released by the campaign called Takeover.
Joe Biden has embraced the policies of the radical left. Trillions in new taxes, crushing middle-class families.
If you elect me, your taxes are going to be raised, not cut.
Amnesty for 11 million illegal immigrants.
Citizenship for 11 million undocumented folks.
Reducing police funding.
Yes, absolutely.
The radical left has taken over Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Don't let them take over America.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Okay, so Laura, why would voters want to relinquish all of the progress and the massive accomplishments that was given to all of America by President Trump in exchange for Joe Biden?
Well, I think the answer is they don't. And I think whenever you see that ad, it becomes very clear where Joe Biden stands and where President Donald Trump stands. We really aren't even talking about Democrat versus Republican anymore. We are literally fighting to keep America, America. And if Joe Biden and his whole crew of leftist socialists that are now controlling the Democrat Party and, of course, controlling Joe Biden, ever for 1 second got control of the White House, it would be, again, an unrecognizable America. It is terrifying to consider this, but it does make you understand why the Democrats are so desperate to try and pull the wool over everybody's eyes with this universal mail-in voting, why they don't want Joe Biden to debate Donald Trump, because they know the American people don't want to buy what Joe Biden is selling. So they're just trying to kind of sneak in through the back door and nobody sees anything. And, oh, all of a sudden Joe Biden is president. I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. That's not how we're doing things these days. Everybody wake up, get registered to vote, get out and vote for President Donald Trump, because we cannot, under any circumstances, let them steal this election and give this country over to Joe Biden, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, the socialist squad. America would be over.
Yeah, you know, while the squad is trying to reimagine America, you know, the mainstream media continues to prop up Joe Biden in this attempt to run interference on his behalf. I mean, we even saw Chris Wallace falsely claiming that Joe Biden hadn't embraced these radical ideas. So, Mercy, Biden has gone as far as to join forces with none other than Bernie Sanders in an effort to really capitulate to the radicals. So why don't you give us a brief rundown of what this radical 110-page communist Marxist manifesto, you know, otherwise known as the Biden-Sanders Unity Plan, what is that?
Great question. Well, let me tell you, for all of you out there, as my children have to do summer reading, which they don't really like, but they have to do it, your summer reading, everyone, is to read the Socialist Manifesto. It is a very important
easy read, folks.
Yeah, it is. It's very, everything that President Trump has done, they're trying to undo and add additional taxes for it. You're talking close to $4 trillion worth of taxes. Support the Green New Deal, which would cost American jobs. Abolish ICE. Redirect funding for the police, which, in other words, is defund the police. And what's so gross about how some of these media outlets have handled it is that they almost like speak like they're the DNC spokespeople. They're like, oh, Joe Biden is not going to defund the police. Joe Biden does not agree with Medicare for all. It's like, read the Socialist Manifesto, where it's very clear that the Democrats want to move to a single payer system that would be destructive to our healthcare system and would be destructive for people who want to make their own healthcare choices. So I think it's important to become very familiarized where the socialists want to take our country. It is very clear that, as Bernie Sanders has said, as even Joe Biden has said, he wants to be the most progressive president in the United States. Yep. For me, that I come from, my family comes from Cuba, progressive equates socialism. And that you've seen these socialist and communist leaders use the word progresista, which is progressive, day in and day out in their speeches. And it is, I think, very dangerous for that to happen and creep in our society.
Yeah, he's not trying to hide it, though, Mercy. He put out a unity plan with a known socialist. So that tells you exactly where Joe Biden is and what he stands for.
You're right. And self-proclaimed socialists. Correct. So, that's a huge deal. Big difference. This is not something they're doing in secret. They're not hiding. They're actually telling America that they want to fundamentally transform it and reimagine our way of life.
Such a nice word.
It's funny to me, and I actually mean funny as in I laughed when, Joe Biden kicked off his Made in America tour.
Oh, I like the malarkey tour.
Was it on a bus or a train? What did he do? You got to tell me. Like, did he go on what did he do?
He had the record player on the train, Mercy.
I love it.
That's what it was. Yeah. But I mean, this is so offensive. This is the guy who actually championed the Trans-Pacific Partnership as the gold standard of trade, not to mention NAFTA, right? And all of a sudden, he has this Made in America, literally plagiarizing his way through the presidential campaign. So, Kimberly, let's zero in on how Joe Biden's record of embracing these globalist trade deals cuts directly against his new campaign message. Because this is the same guy who not long ago, again, bragged about all of these partnerships and deals and trade authorities that essentially decimated the middle class and outsourced our jobs. Is he good for trade?
It's unbelievable. I mean, Joe Biden does not have a campaign message at all, okay? And he's not driven by some philosophy or deep policy belief whatsoever. Maybe at one time he was, like sort of a mainstream liberal. Those days are long gone. Now Joe Biden is just some vessel. Okay, empty vessel with a teleprompter, barely functioning. And honestly, it would be sad if the threat to this country was not so serious. They can't be real thinking this guy could be president. He can't find his way out of his own house, okay? His campaign advisors and the people hoping to get rich by pulling his strings are literally going to put whatever they need to do in order to carry him across the finish line on election day and into the Oval Office. And that's why they're pandering to the socialists and the communists. Joe Biden does not have any intention of delivering on anything he is saying or taking care of or looking after this country because he does not know what he's doing, okay? He's like 44 years of total abject failure. And the reality is, if Joe Biden wins, you can bet that the people pulling the strings, like y'all pointed out, AOC, the Squad, Elizabeth Warren, and the left-wing rioters tearing apart and burning down our cities and people's businesses across this country, they will advance these extremist policies in order to, as they put it, reimagine America. We don't want to be reimagined, okay? We know what we stand for, and it's not what these people are espousing. They hate America. We love America. We have a president that loves America, and they're hoping to use Joe Biden as a tool to advance their radical agenda and tear this country apart. And we are not going to let it happen because we're going to reelect Donald Trump on November 3rd and shut them down.
Wait.
I mean, standing ovation. Whoa, like hot Latina. That's awesome. The Puerto Rican came out. This is great. I love it.
We need that. We need that.
Yeah, you should see when Junior gets out of line around here.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay, now that makes a lot more sense. A lot more calm. Kimberly's got it under control. So
That's right.
You know, look, while they're reimagining America and reimagining our way of life, we reimagine media. And that's why we're here with you all tonight.
Ta-da.
So stay right there. We're going to take one more commercial break and we'll be right back.
Seattle's pledged to defund its police department by 50%, even including a proposal to remove 911 dispatchers from police control.
Joe Biden said he's absolutely on board with defunding the police. Listen closely.
Yes, absolutely.
Hello, you've reached 911. I'm sorry that there is no one here to answer your emergency call, but leave a message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Crime will rise significantly.
Welcome back to The Right View. I'm Mercedes Schlapp, Senior Advisor for Strategic Communications. I want to get everyone's final thoughts, but first, we need as many patriots as possible to get involved in our country and help reelect President Trump this November. You know, early voting is starting. As Kimberly mentioned, we got to stay on it. We got to get out there and vote. So make sure, look at the dates in your states and get out there. Also, if you want to stay connected, download the new groundbreaking Trump 2020 app, now available on Apple and Android. Sign up to volunteer, register for events, and win exclusive prizes. I know I want to win one. To stay in contact with us, please text Trump to 88022. If you or your friends, family, or neighbors not want to get involved, but we need you to get involved to re-elect President Donald J. Trump, please visit armyfortrump.com to sign up. So, ladies, we finally reached to the end of the show. So let's get your final thoughts. Lara, I'll start with you.
Well, I had a really incredible opportunity earlier this week, to interview our incredible Vice President, Mike Pence. I got to go visit the Vice President's home. It was beautiful. And what just a gracious host he was to have us there and to allow us in and sit down with me. And really just so insightful from him about exactly the things we've been talking about, the future of this country at stake, why he and President Trump are such a great team to keep America great, and they will do that. But of course, he was the highlight for me. But the second highlight for me was meeting his dog, Harley.
Oh, of course. There's always a dog.
Oh, I know. He was probably a little upset whenever he was like, do you want me to get Harley out? And I was like, absolutely. And then when Harley came out, I was overjoyed. I maybe should have done him in reverse. So he, either way, it was amazing. So thank you. Thank you to our incredible Vice President.
What type of dog is it?
Australian Shepherd.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm a crazy dog lady. I spotted him a mile away. I'm like, Australian Shepherd.
So are you starting the Dogs for Trump coalition? Is that the plan?
I had the Dogs.
Isn't that started already?
It's Charlie and Ben. And since the Democrats are cool with animals voting, I mean, I'm waiting for their ballots to come in as well. So send them on it. It's ridiculous. But
hopefully it's not Mitt Romney's dog that he decided to, tie up to his car, but that's a different story. Anyways, Kimberly, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm super excited, as I mentioned, because we have an exciting weekend coming up for the Campaign and Trump Victory Finance Committee. I'm doing round-the-clock calls. You know me. I'm like, I cannot stop raising money. We're working hard. We're raising a whole lot of money for the president's reelection, but I do not want to go back to what Mercy was touching on earlier. I do want to do that because the fact that out of 25 candidates, Democrats have nominated someone who is incapable and afraid to debate his opponent shows us exactly how intellectually bankrupt the Democrat Party is. They don't have the leadership. They don't have the ideas for making America great again or restarting this economy. They do not have anyone that can stand toe-to-toe with President Trump. And they know that Joe Biden cannot walk himself through a crowd, let alone defend his disastrous record, 40 years of abomination in a debate. I am desperate to get these debates out there because the American people deserve to hear from the two people that are trying to be president of the United States. And the Democrat Party is the party of failure, of despair, and of victimhood. And if you don't believe me, just look at their nominee. Wow. That is why this election is so important. And it's not just about November 3rd. It is about today and every day. We must wake up and do everything we absolutely can to ensure this president is reelected. Do today what you would do on November 4th if you could change the outcome of the election. That's what I tell people every single day, and I terrify them into giving money and getting involved with President Trump.
Can I hear an amen? I mean, amen. Seriously, you're so right. And I think we got to take Kimberly's passion out there. And you all, seriously, there is no time to sleep. There's no time to rest. Literally. The clock is ticking, and we got to get this moving. Katrina, I don't know how you're going to beat Kimberly on this one. This is tough.
No. I'm not even going to try to beat Kimberly. What I will do is I will piggyback off of Kimberly.
There you go. There you go.
That out of all of the choices, all of the candidates, we got that guy, the guy that cannot string two sentences together, cannot do an interview without a note card and still get it wrong. This is the guy the Democrats chose. Now he gets to choose his running mate. Yep. So look, it doesn't matter to me who he picks. Yeah. It doesn't matter. No one can beat Donald J. Trump, period. But what I will say is there is a video that is circling around the internet right now about one of his potential picks, Pocahontas herself, Elizabeth Warren. If we have the video, we have to show it. But look, guys, this is a woman who ran for president, who ended up, selling herself out to Hillary, now sold herself out to Joe Biden. And she's doing this podcast interview with him, and he gets stuck on words again. And he's trying to get it out, and she's on camera rolling her eyes. So I just want to say thank you, Elizabeth Warren, for sharing all of America's sentiments about your candidate, Joe Biden.
Maybe she can stand behind him and sniff his hair and be like, let me help you, Joe. This is how you.
He would like it.
Finish that. I know, it's so bizarre. Just so weird. But I got to tell you, I love spending the hour with all four of you. It's always such a blessing. But so I just want to say to all of you watching, thank you so much for supporting this president and all the work that we're doing. Keep working hard. We got to get this president reelected. And remember, God bless you all out there. God bless this great president. Keep praying for all of us as we keep praying for this country. And God bless America. Take care. Have a good night.